everyone. Welcome to Poerty, Prophecies podcast. My name is Tiffany. This podcast will be centered around how our physical lives ties into our spiritual lives. As we all know, everything happens there first, Ephesians 1-4. And I'll also be shedding light on how evil spiritual beings play a part. But before we get into the episode, let's say the Lord's Prayer. You can find it in Matthew 6:9-13 and Luke 11:2-4. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So today's episode is going to be about devils in the medical field. And this episode is not to bash people that work for the medical field. I've worked in the medical field. I have my degree in health information. I went to school for sonography, and I was even a candy striper as a kid. Okay. I was the youngest one. I wasn't even supposed to be there, and they let me stay because I was so eager to be in the hospital. I've done internships in nursing homes. So all my studies is basically about medical. So it's a big part of my life. It's not to bash the medical field. It's just to shed light on some things that you guys might not know that goes on behind the scenes. So the first thing I want to start with is the logo. The use of snakes in medical symbols has deep-rooted history invoking symbolism that transcends cultures and spans centuries. Two prominent symbols, the caduceus and the rod of Asclepius, featured snakes as central elements, each carrying unique meanings and association within the realm of medicine and healing. The caduceus is a symbol characterized by a rod entwined by two snakes with wings at the top. Its origin can be traced to ancient Greece, where it was associated with Hermes, the messenger of gods. The ancient Romans knew him as Mercury. The rod of Asclepius. This symbol features a single serpent wrapped around a staff or rod representing Asclepius, the ancient Greek god of healing, similar to Hermes. Asclepius, the son of Apollo, the sun god. You already know where I'm going with this regarding these so-called gods, right? The Lord said, you will have no other god before me. So I wanted to read that so you can see the origin of the symbol itself. We can look at something good now, but where did it originate from? You have to know the origin of it is where it's rooted, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to read the amount of deaths that happen due to malpractice. Medical malpractice occurs frequently in the United States. The actual number of incidents may be higher than reported. Lawsuits on average, 20,000 medical malpractice lawsuits are filed in the U.S. each year. Fatalities, medical errors are estimated to cause 250,000 deaths annually, making it the third leading cause of death in the U.S. However, only about 5% of these deaths result in malpractice payouts. Underreporting, many medical malpractice incidents go unreported or unrecognized. Medical malpractice occurs when a healthcare professional actions cause harm to a patient, such as by misdiagnosing a patient or failing to diagnose an illness in a timely manner. So this leads me to my mother. I've glazed over this story a little bit here and there, but I just wanted to shed some light on that regarding her, because that when I was going over the notes in this podcast episode, I thought about her. So one day she was having chest pains. So she went to the doctor. She was in the VI at the time. She was already on high blood pressure medication. So the doctor prescribed her another medication. And she asked the doctor, I wasn't there, I was in New York, but she was with my little sister. And she asked the doctor, can she take this medicine with the medicine that she was already taking? And the doctor told her yes. So that day she went home, and she was cooking at the time, and she took the medicine and she had a heart attack that day. So I bring this up regarding the medicine here because the question, we ask questions all the time if it's okay, and some people just blindly follow healthcare professionals or people in uniform because they think that they know best. No, your gut, your intuition, your discernment knows best, because that's the Holy Spirit. So anytime you have to ask a question, think twice about something, you would go into prayer. You would make sure you get confirmation before doing anything. Even if you think that's the best thing to do, the Lord will guide you on the best thing to do. So remember, we all get warnings, right? We all get warnings. So I knew something was off with that. So what happened is we went to the hospital to talk to when we got to the VI, we went to the hospital to talk to the doctor, but they wouldn't talk to us. And well, what they put on her death certificate was she had a small infection of the heart. So I'm saying that to say this. So she went to the doctor. Let's just recap here. She went to the doctor because she had chest pain. She was already on medication. They gave her medication. She mixed the medication. She took the medication on top of medication and she had a heart attack. But the death certificate says she had a small infection of the heart. So anytime things like this were to happen, you have to do digging. Obviously, that was a cover up. You have to fight for the people that can't fight for themselves at that point. So I'm just saying that because at that time I had a voice, but I didn't have a voice. Everyone was going along with the situation, even though we knew something was off with that, right? So I just say that there's a lot of people don't want to lose their license, so they're not going to, even if they know they made an error, they're not going to fess up to it. You have to take the next step and fight for your loved ones. So I say that they cover up these kind of things all the time. Oh yeah, okay. And there's a quick little story. So my daughter, she had an ear infection. It was like a year or so ago, and we went to the doctor and they needed to prescribe her some antibiotics. One she couldn't take because it would have been too strong for her. So come to find out, they put a red alert on her chart so no one would prescribe that medication to her. So when I went to go pick up the medicine, they didn't have that. I called the doctor for them to speak to them. It was some type of waiting period. It was something going on there. So I spoke to the other nurse and she said, I don't know why it's taking so long. I'm going to just prescribe her this one. So because I remember the other nurse and the conversation we had regarding the red alert in my daughter's chart, I said, wait a minute, prescribe her what one? And she was hesitant to even tell me which one it was. I said, is that the one that she's not supposed to get? It's too strong for her. And then she got quiet. I was like, which one is it? And she wouldn't tell me. So I say that to say this, even if sometimes there's a note, alert, a red flag in your chart, there's some doctors, some nurses don't even give a damn. They will prescribe it to you anyway. And because of my mother, I'm very cautious on the intake of medicine if we even have to take medicine because of that. I would do research upon research before taking a doctor's or nurse's advice about anything. I would go to the Lord before anything. So I just wanted to shed some light about that. They don't even care, even if it's a child. So the connections with the hospital, sometimes, and we talk about this all the time regarding the connection with hospitals, morgues, and funeral homes. There's difference between the morgue and the funeral home, but still there's a connection there. So sometimes these things are happening because of the connection there. If you think about how the money system works, sometimes people are just you could say collateral. So they want you for something. We're going to get into the organ donating, the organ donors in a second. But sometimes people, they're lining you up, if that makes sense. So just to shed light on being a little bit more cautious when these people that are in uniform that's supposed to help us, sometimes these are sinister people behind this uniform. So always take that in account. Always pray about everything. Always do your due diligence in your part to make sure you and your family is safe from these people. So I'm going to read here. Hospitals are connected to morgues, funeral homes through the process of releasing a deceased person's body for disposition. A hospital's mortuary is part of the hospital service and is located within the hospital. It's where bodies are stored until they are identified, prepared for an autopsy, or released to a funeral home. Okay, so let me go back to my mother. So another thing that these hospitals and morgues and funeral homes will do is want you to cremate your loved one. I forgot to mention that. They want you to cremate. I know you guys probably know this already from the movies and from what you hear and see here, that you see people have to get another autopsy, a secondary autopsy that they pay for, and also not cremating their loved one, because once you cremate them, the evidence is gone. They're connected. So Sometimes people are lined up for their organs. So I'm going to read that. There we can put organ donor on our license and our ID, our state IDs and our license. So that's an alert that you are giving permission to take your organs. Sometimes they can just do this and take your organs anyway, but definitely it becomes a target. You become a target in that area, becoming an organ donor. Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just giving you the heads up on sometimes there's sinister things that happen, especially if you match something that some other high profile person needs. So I'm just saying that because it is definitely true. And then also sometimes they will use people as experiments. So I had a friend that was going through, she had breast cancer and she was going through reconstructive surgery regarding her breast. And it was, at the time, this was new, 3D nipples, right? So come to find out, she opted to get 3D nipples even though she did not want to. So when I heard the news, I flipped out because it's like they pushed 3D nipples, but she didn't have to. When I spoke to another doctor, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm that type of friend. Like I could be a little tough, especially because I love you, and it's like I know when somebody's trying to take advantage of you. So they will use people as experiments sometimes. So they'll tell you you need something or it's best for you when it's really not. They just want to test it on you. So I just came to me. So I just wanted to mention that sometimes they use people as experiments to test out the new thing, and that's not something that you need to do. So do your research regarding things, especially if you have to undergo something. Make sure you're making the right choice. Always get a second opinion from another doctor. It doesn't have to be at that location. It could be another doctor somewhere else. Organ donation is the process when a person authorizes an organ of their own to be removed and transplanted to another person legally, either by consent while the donor is alive, through a legal authorization for deceased donation made prior to death, or for the deceased donations through the authorization by the legal next of kin. So this is when they need an organ, they need your organs. So sometimes you are an organ donor, you already legally placed that on your ID, and sometimes your family member would say yes, or you've already stated this in other ways, whether it be a will stating that they can take your organs to give to other people in need. So that's a good thing. Always pray about that. I had organ donor on mines before when I was in New York, and I removed it when I updated my ID in New York. I removed it, and then I just kept it off. Like that's not something that I would put on my ID. I just feel that it's an easier lineup that way, and yeah. So that's just me, but always be led. Donation may be for research or, more commonly, healthy transplantable organs and tissues may be donated to be transplanted into another person. Healthy transplants include kidney, heart, liver, pancreas, intestines, lungs, bones, bone marrow, skin, and corneas. Some organs and tissues can be donated by living donors, such as a kidney or part of the liver, part of the pancreas, part of the lung, or part of the intestines. But most donations occur after the donor has died. So now I want to read an article regarding blood donations. I don't know if any of you here give blood, but I wanted to talk about that because there's an article that I bumped into in 2018 that there was a Satanist that actually teamed up with the Red Cross for blood. And come to find out, they were actually sacrificing the blood donations to Satan. So I wanted to read that just to give you guys a little glaze over on what's going on in this world. And if it's done in Australia, I can only imagine what's being done here in the U.S. behind the scenes. The Blood for Satan donation drive is the country's first satanic charity event in association with the Red Cross. Satanic Australia, the non-theistic religious group behind the plasma gathering, are encouraging members of the public to roll up their sleeves, cop a jab to the arm, and donate in the name of the devil. To be clear, these aren't the robe-wearing, witchcraft-practicing Satanists you might be used to. A spokesperson for Satanic Australia told Vice via Facebook, "Since we believe that action is more meaningful than prayer, a blood drive was a logical and appropriately satanic way to help others out, especially with donated blood only lasting 42 days on average. There just simply isn't enough to cover the demand. Satanic Australia's mission statement is right there in the name. They want to bring satanic change to Australia, but this isn't as fire and brimstone as it might sound. As it turns out, the group's New Age model of Satanism ends up looking like a not so extreme form of left-wing activism. And then it says there were some concerns with the Red Cross, but ultimately, once we explained who we were and what we were about, they were pretty cool. While some detractors have suggested that the blood is in fact used for the group's stupid sacrifices and rituals, Satanic Australia insists that they are not a magic group and their rituals do not involve human or animal sacrifices. Then it goes on to say something. It consists of unbaptism rituals where a person lets go of religious dogmas and the guilt associated with so-called sin, and destruction rituals when a person destroys an object that reminds them of negative past experiences. Nationwide awareness of the need to give blood, but Satanic Australia are also hoping to organize some group donations events in major cities where local Satanists, atheists, secularists, and humanists can come together and contribute to the cause. So all the devils coming together for this cause, including your blood. Then they just go on. I'll put the article below. Then they do the beheading of a chicken and goat. So they just said they don't kill animals or people sacrifices, but then they're saying here about chicken and goats, beheading a chicken and goat. So I don't know what's going on with that. They were bold when they teamed up with Red Cross, but how many of the donating blood actually does get sacrificed and offered up without you even knowing it? You know what I mean? If Red Cross in Australia would team up with them, you know what I mean? There's Red Cross everywhere. So that's just a eye opener right there. And this will cause for an open door in a person's life because they have your blood, because they are doing rituals with your blood. This could cause a big problem. It's one thing to do these things when we're in the world, but then when we come out the world, these things are being presented to us. It's being presented to us for a reason, whether it's coming from me or someone else. The Lord is allowing us to speak this because he needs you to know this, so then you can take this to him, and then he'll guide you. He'll guide you the rest of the way on what to do and what not to do. People go through warfare that they don't know where it's coming from. This can happen too. That's with people that we know that would take our belongings, put it on altars and shrines. But then now it's even bigger when we're doing things and people we don't know are actually sacrificing these things, offering us up and things of that nature. So this, you can go through unnecessary warfare just because you're trying to be a good person. All right, guys, that's the end of the episode. I pray you found something I said today helpful. Don't forget to take a look at the description box. All my links are below. The first link is to the targeted community, which is for targeted individuals, believers, chosen ones, the spiritually gifted, and those that are set apart. I hope to see you guys in there. I love you guys. See you guys every other Friday at 8 p.m. I'll be setting a premiere, so don't forget to click notify me so you won't miss it. Until next time, have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye.